Hi everyone, I'm Ananya, the co founder of the Hairpin.co, a creative strategy company that focuses on building great brands in motorsport. Welcome to our series, Off Track, where we literally go off track and under the helmet of racing drivers and people of motorsport in India and Southeast Asia. We dive deep into careers, journeys, and conversations that revolve around Indian and Southeast Asian representation so we can learn from them and build a more inclusive environment for the sport to grow. I am so delighted to speak to Shriya Lohia today. She's a 15-year-old racing driver from India, and she's participated in multiple national and international karting championships, and she's also made several trips to the podium. Most recently, she was selected to compete in the FIA Girls on Track program and represent India in France for the selections. For her achievements, she received the Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar for her excellence in motorsport. In this episode of Off Track, tune in to listen to what drives her and how her incredible experiences have pushed her to be a better racing driver. I was super excited to have you on the podcast because we thought it would be an interesting chat with you because of the kind of experience that you've had at a very young age already, right? And I think in the racing industry, it's better that you get this kind of experience early on so that you have a much, much smoother road ahead.
Yeah.
Right? So I just want to throw it all back to where you started. Just introduce yourself in a way, like where you come from. You are different and unique, but I know that. But it would be great to kind of hear it from your side.
Okay. So my name is Shriya. I'm 15 years old. I'm a racing driver, obviously. I was born in Pune, but my family is from Himachal Pradesh. So I live there currently. I started racing when I was 9 years old, and yeah, it's been about 5 years, and I'm loving every second of it.
Where did you maybe start racing properly? Like, when did you get into a go-kart and where?
About 2017, I was on a road trip with my family around Pune, and we went to this rental track, and I decided I want to try go-karting with my sister.
Okay.
And both of us tried it out, but my sister didn't end up liking it as much as I did. And I even overlapped her a bunch of times, so I got really excited. And I was quite young, so for me it was a big deal. And then I thought, oh, wait, this is really cool. And I just enjoyed the feeling of overtaking my sister again and again and again. And then I thought, okay, I want to do this. And after that, I told my dad, I was like, I want to do this. And my dad didn't hesitate at all. He's like, okay, sure, whatever you want to do. So then he contacted a racing academy, and he got me into my first training program here in Bangalore. And then from there, I did my first training, and
So you come from no racing background at all?
No, my dad was never into racing. He's always been into cars and bikes, but he's never been into anything professional.
Okay, so how did you, when you started out, you jumped into a go-kart and you found that you're good at it in a way, and you like that feeling of lapping somebody, especially your sister. Trust me, the competitive spirit runs everywhere. Who were your racing heroes in a way? I mean, did you start out saying, hey, I want to be like XYZ? Because
I don't think I started out thinking I wanted to be like someone, because it was more like when I started karting, that's when I got introduced to the sport, and then I wanted to find out more about it. So when I started karting, I found out more about all the drivers, about how far it can go. So at that time and till now, my idol would probably be Michael Schumacher. It's just him. I don't know if I need to explain that.
I think that's a good choice.
It's just been him for the longest time. And I think out of the youngest drivers right now, my favorite would be Shaz.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to even talk about the season so far, but he is a young driver who kind of came up in the ranks of motorsport. So right now, I know you're racing. You're going to be racing the nationals, and you also have. What are your racing plans going further? Because now you're backed up by Hyderabad Blackbirds as well?
So for now, I think the plans is just karting. So I finish off Rotax and then whatever's in store for me will happen. I don't think I get a say in this, honestly, but whatever my team decides is best for me, they will put me into.
Interesting. So, but do you have any plans to move or rather test anything beyond?
I think we do have plans to test any single seater this year. So that's that.
Okay, I have a question here. So, if there was one thing that you could change about the way your journey's happened so far, what would it be? And would you change anything in the first place?
I don't think I would change anything. Maybe if we're talking about like races in general, some races I'll probably go back and tell myself to not make the mistake that I did end up making, or tell myself to not be so disheartened by something that was out of my control, because the way you think can also really change your outcome completely. It can change the outcome of the race completely. So it would probably be something like that, but not something major. I wouldn't want to change anything specifically, because I think the way everything's happened, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have the opportunities I have right now if anything hadn't happened the way it did. So
That's good perspective, and I think that's slightly. I wouldn't say every racing driver is gonna differ from that, but
yeah.
it's just nice to hear that maturity come from at 15. I don't think you can actually organize. I bet you I wasn't thinking. I was getting angry at everything. I would change that. I would change this. But it's important, because as a racing driver you need to be composed in a way, and that kind of leads on to how do you go about prepping for a race. It could be anything, like even from your local races to the nationals.
Maybe it would. Sometimes there's gonna be a lot of pressure, and I wouldn't say I have found a great way to manage my pressure, but I mean, slowly it's working. But I think when I'm just at the racetrack, I get so happy that everything is just everything's around me, everyone's around me. I get to drive my kart. It's a big thing in itself, and that just keeps me happy for the whole race weekend. I know sometimes I'll get a bit angry because of some bad results, but at the end of the day, it's I just get very happy as soon as I reach the track. So that's probably, I don't know, that's probably how I get prepped for a race. I just stay happy that okay, no matter what's happening, I'm at the track, I'm driving. So I love it.
True. Yeah. But you did talk about pressure, and I think any young driver that is kind of making up the ranks as quickly as you are, there is going to be outside pressure to keep performing.
Yeah.
Right? And does that ever get to you sometimes? Like you just say,
it definitely does. It definitely does. Mentally, it'll take such a big toll on you, because you've got pressure and you can't do anything but perform, and you're the only one who can actually change whatever's happening.
Yeah.
And when you make a mistake, it's quite, you're quite hard on yourself. You're like, oh no, why did I do that? I wish I could have done better. And then it's difficult to pick yourself up and tell yourself that okay, next time I will avoid this, I will do better, because you just have that thought at the back of your head that what if it happens again? What will I do?
Yeah.
So it's not that easy, but slowly it just changes. It slowly you're able to pick yourself up, and it's fine. But the pressure is definitely a lot.
I can imagine. But in these moments, do you have anybody that you kind of go to, or you seek counsel or help from, or is it just you telling yourself, hey, we need to get through this?
Most days it's my sister. Okay. She's like my best friend. She's the one who I talk to about everything. And if I'm having a bad day, I'll talk to her, and she won't, try to sugarcoat anything or tell me that, it wasn't my fault, even if it was. Mm-hmm. She will be very straightforward with me, and she'll, get away. She'll try to find a way for me to feel better, knowing the truth, not, knowing that I didn't do well and, it was maybe someone else's fault. Even if it was my fault, I need to accept that. So she's always there for me whenever And then some days, maybe in between races when I don't feel like talking to anyone, it's just me in my head. So at the end of the day, I can't just, go into a race with a bad mood and think that, oh yeah, it's so bad. No, I have to think about everything that's happening. The fact that I'm there, we worked so hard for that race. So there's no point in giving up at the end.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, is your sister older?
Yeah. She's older by 2.5 years.
Okay. Okay. And is she here in Bangalore as well, or she's
not in Bangalore. She's back home.
Oh wow. Okay. Does she travel with you to races and stuff, or is it
No,
just
the funny
falls?
thing is actually like all of my 5 years of racing, my dad's the only one who's been to a race. Like my sister and my mom have come to watch my first, second testing, but they've never been to a race in their whole life. So I'm still waiting for that to happen. I think this is the year. I keep saying that every year, but I think this is the year. Let's hope.
Does your sister and your mom have this thing that says, if I watch her, I'm going to jinx her? My mom had this.
I mean, not really. My mom, she's kind of neutral with everything. She wants to watch a race, but she also doesn't at the same time. Because every time she hears about an incident, she's like, no, I cannot stand there and watch that happen. So I think my dad that way is quite calm with everything that happens, whether it's bad or whether it's good. So my sister is more than happy to come to the track. I just want her to come and watch a race, It's better. She'll be there in person as my support.
Yeah, I mean, you've got plenty of support around the track. And I don't think there's any person not rooting for you at some point. But just speaking about the atmosphere on track, right? You are one of the very few girls on the grid. And I think this year you might be maybe, three people on the grid? We'd be lucky if it crosses 4.
Yeah.
So does that kind of change the way, or do you feel a certain sense of responsibility in a way, being the senior most of the girls on the grid?
It is obviously odd being surrounded by like only guys all the time. On the track there's only guys, no one. So I get really happy when I see another female at the track. Like when I saw you, coming to meet everyone, I was like, oh damn, thank God there's another one at the track. I'm like the only one. So, with regards to the guys in racing, sometimes it can get a bit lonely because they won't exactly come and talk to you all the time. I'm not sure what the reason is, but they just won't, talk to you as much as they would talk to their male competitor. So sometimes it can be lonely, but I don't think it's a big problem. They're always there to hang around, hi, but maybe not into the depths, but that's fine with me. And whenever I see like another girl at the track, just like last weekend, I saw this girl. I believe she was in your team.
Yeah,
she was in the kart crew team. Yeah, she's like 7, I think, and I met her and her dad and mom, and they were just talking about, her mom came to me. She's like, I'm so glad I saw you here. You're like, I'm relieved that there's one girl, so that I can feel that okay, my daughter will do fine in sport and she won't have any struggles. And then I got really happy to hear that because actually it's just her mother herself was scared to put her into racing. So when you hear that, it's kind of nice to see that my presence kind of made up her mind, helped her make up her mind. So she was like, okay, I can put my daughter into this. So that was a nice feeling, I would like to say. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not just representing myself. I'm kind of showing what girls can do, what girls can't do. Yeah. So there is responsibility. But yeah, it's
nice. Have you personally convinced any of your friends to just get into racing?
I didn't actually have to convince them. A lot of my friends have, just seen me racing. They're like, I want to join this. They've just, even not just guys, also girls, they've always been that, I want to join this. And I was like, you're more than welcome. Please come.
That's nice.
But I think everyone's had their own reasons. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of people who, told me they wanted to join racing. I don't know if they are inspired by me or like external source,
No.
but I'm happy I know it.
Don't doubt that. I think you made a very good point. And recently there was a report that was released by More Than Equal, and it said that role models in motorsport is so important.
Mhm.
And even if there's one girl on the grid like you, there's going to be somebody that's going to look up and take comfort in the
Yeah.
fact that hey, there is somebody like her, and I can do it too.
Yeah.
But just talking about the your competitors, and you said that they respect you as a competitor, but when it comes to like being friends and all of that, it's like a little further
Yeah.
away. How do you deal with that? I mean, can you really truly have friends on the grid? And sorry, Abhay, I know you're right there watching and you are, but
I guess you can have friends at the track always, but I think at the end of the day, all of us are going for the same thing.
yeah,
So it'll be, I mean, as long as we're supporting each other and we're happy for each other, maybe we have some feuds in the future, but that's how it is. We can't just single out and be like, okay, no, he's my friend. I can't let that happen to him. I can't do this to him.
yeah,
You have to, it's where your priorities come in. What you actually, think is more important for you. Which I'm not saying friends are more important than racing or racing is more important than friends. It's your way of balancing how you would want it. If you are able to manage having friends with you while having a good racing career with them, so that's a really good thing. But if you're not, then that's fine. It happens. Sport is competitive. You can't always expect everyone to react the same way you do.
that is true. That is true. So, just again coming back to a bit about your racing career in itself, you got selected to be a part of the Girls on Track program. Can you walk us through that? What that experience was like, and I know you had a good learning experience there,
Yeah.
but it'll be nice to just walk us through it.
It was something new for me because in my years of racing, I'd never driven like in an international championship. So when I found out I was selected, I was obviously happy to, to be competing with all the girls from around the world because I was like, I'm happy. I would learn something from each one of them. So when we went there, we were driving the OKJ karts with IME X30 engines, which was, something I've never driven before. So it was completely new for me. And the tracks, obviously, international tracks have a different, they're different tracks. They have different corners, curbs, and maybe not the same as the ones we have in India. So I was happy. I was excited going into the program. And when we went for like our first session, I was a bit lost because all the girls already knew how to, drive the carts and everything, the brakes, and how to, the difference in the brakes, how much you would have to apply, and how to take different corners that I'd never seen before. So I was a bit lost, but they helped me the whole way. Even the coaches there, they were really helpful. They helped me, understand the difference between the ones that we have in India and the ones that we have there.
Yeah.
So I think overall it was a good experience because I wasn't off by a lot, but I know there was definitely room for improvement. But I didn't expect much after the first test day. I didn't expect much because I know the experience the girls came with. It's not that easy to, just show up and try to beat all of them who've done like so many international championships. But, it was a good thing. Taught me a bunch of different things and the spirit of fighting, even till the end. And the girls were highly competitive. We were all just overtaking each other all the time. Very clean battles the whole time. It was a really good learning experience. I know I learned a lot from it, which definitely helped me, apply those skills into the championship back here, because there is a difference in the level of competitiveness in India and Europe. So yeah, it just taught me a lot, and I'm really grateful for that.
Very interesting that you talk about like the gap that exists. But
Yeah.
why do you think that gap exists? Like, what are we supposed to do as a federation, as drivers getting into the scene? What is different that we need to do?
I think India hasn't been that great in motorsport. I think Asia in general hasn't been that great in motorsport. Maybe it's because we don't take it seriously enough as a sport. Like in India, you barely have a few karting tracks.
Correct.
So maybe I would say that the federation would also have to put in their work, and people would also have to take more interest. Try to figure out what the sport exactly is. Because some people don't even try to understand what racing is. They would just fly over the whole thing. So maybe to take more interest, whether it's it could be a sponsor, a company who wants to take more interest in the sport and invest in it, maybe give more opportunities. Because in India we are running on low facilities, low funds, because obviously the sport is not popular. Like you compare it to maybe cricket, it's like
Cricket's on another
yeah,
planet. I think.
exactly. So that's the difference, the importance we give to cricket and the importance we give to motorsport. Maybe try to give the same amount to motorsport for people to understand more and for more people to know about the sport in general. Because I see federations in Europe supporting a lot of drivers.
Mm.
A few girls from the program, I believe, are also being supported by the federation in their respective championships. So that's a really good thing to see. And in India, the more you get the championships, the more people know about it. I'm sure we'll get there. But it's just about people taking interest and investing into it, finding out more about the sport, and understanding that it is a real sport.
That was our biggest debate, like 10 years ago when I think it was classified as an entertainment thing and not a sport.
Yeah.
But it's changing now, but slowly
Yeah.
but surely. You did mention that you obviously it was a learning experience, and there were probably few things that you physically had to adapt, according to them, and that's something that you learned. But in terms of just the mental space and the kind of competitiveness that you had to maybe up from your side, was that something that you brought back? And did you see a difference in the way you approached a race here after the championship there?
Yeah, definitely, because the way you would have to, the fighting back there was so close, and the corners were so different. So you would find out different ways to get around the track, which back in India would help you, but maybe not as much because it wouldn't, be the same thing. But it definitely helped because it took out a lot of my fear. Those karts were slightly faster and the corners were more technical. So overtaking there kind of removed my fear, and I was like, okay, so it won't be too difficult back here. So that definitely helps. Yeah, in kind of changed my approach into overtaking and fighting with other people on track.
That's crazy. I didn't know it would be like a big difference,
Yeah.
just changing different locations and different
Yeah.
competitions. But it's interesting. How many girls were a part of it?
I think we were 8 girls in the junior category,
Okay.
and I think another 6 in the senior. So we were all on track together, senior and junior.
Senior and junior.
Yeah, we were technically running the same carts,
Oh, okay.
same engines, but the seniors were also with us for some reason.
For some reason. No, but it gives you a good, I think, like a breadth of competition.
Yeah.
right? Like
You know, the
can't
elder
different-
girls as well. So they're like the ones driving in single seaters and stuff. So they're obviously a bit more competitive. They were also there with us, so it was fun.
But it was a good 2-day program, 3-day
Yeah,
program.
2 day.
And what actually went on in terms of?
We had physical assessments, which were a lot of fun, I must say, because
I
all
have
of
never
us,
heard this from somebody. Like imagine
all of
saying,
us
like,
were
they
really enjoying it. Like me, we were divided into groups. So 4 girls and me with another 3 girls, and all 4 of us got along so well, and we were just enjoying the whole time. Obviously doing our best in the physical assessments and just joking around, and with the reflection lights, we were like playing around, having some fun, talking to the coaches. So it wasn't like boring at all. It wasn't that serious that all of us were like, oh no. We were just like joking around, enjoying, and I think that's what got the best out from us as well. So, but yeah, it was so we had physical assessments, and from there we moved on to like seat fitting and everything. So after the seat fittings, the first day we went down track, I was like clueless. I didn't know how to start the engine because these were push starts. So you need someone to push the cart, and then you have to, pull this certain plug on the engine to start it, and you have to get the revs to match, otherwise you're gonna stall it. So I was a bit confused, but I got it pretty well on my first time. And then, before that, obviously they took us on a track walk, tried to explain how it would be different. I asked my questions, being curious on how to take the different corners I'd never seen before. So we tried out all that on track when we went, and then we would sit down, study data, compare and see where improvements can be made, and where we can take a different approach to the corner than the ones I was taking. So, and then they even, gave us, they would teach us about the nutrition side of racing and how it will affect your performance on track, and the mental side of racing, how your mindset can completely affect your races. So it was very helpful. Like to this day, I remember every single thing we've learned there, because it was just so, refreshing, because normally we haven't learned in depth back here in India. So to learn that much from those, professionals is really helpful in the long term as well. Makes you realize the importance of every single thing in racing.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
racing is, as much as people say, it's just the driver and the car. I think the external coaching that you get can be very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Like it can really make or
It can
break your
change
career.
the whole thing.
Yeah. And in India, do you have any coaches that kind of walk you through, both sides of racing? Like you mentioned the mental side and the physical side of it.
For mental side, not really, not right now. But I am planning to, find someone, because racing can mentally be very tough. So, physically, right now I am I go to this performance lab. So around 2 days a week, I'm gonna soon start going 3 days a week. So, they're quite experienced. They've trained a lot of racers before as well.
Is this Invictus?
Invictus Performance Lab.
Okay.
Yeah, they've trained a lot of people before, so it's nothing new for them, and they know where to help me work on. That'll help me in racing, and just even maybe the thinking side of it, like in the moment when you're driving and the decisions you need to make. They're helping me with that as well. So that's
good. You kind of get the whole 360.
Yeah, exactly.
But just speaking about, you mentioned you're going to go 3 times a week now.
Yeah.
Life back, just outside of racing, how is that going for you? Are you in school? Are you getting homeschooled? How is
For
that?
me, I live in Himachal, so I live with my family. My family is all around me back there. Maternal side, paternal side.
Okay.
We've got the whole family there.
Everyone.
And I'm currently homeschooled. So I study from home. I just have to go give exams, like first term, second term. So that's like the only thing. I'm homeschooled, so my mom teaches me whenever she can, and otherwise, I'm studying on my own, because I know how important studies are as well. So that is how I'm managing studies. But otherwise, I'm back home with my family, and I try to play as much sports as I can, because I really love sports. Like just outside of racing, I love sports in general. And I love the feeling of being home also. But I obviously love racing. It can be a bit difficult here sometimes without family, but in the end, it's all for what I want to do. And I get to meet my family. I get to go back between races and meet my family. So it's not too bad. I like this life, managing a bit of both.
Yeah, being homeschooled, I guess it kind of eases off
Yeah.
pressure from going to school and all of that attendance and stuff. Wow, it's amazing. I've lost my train of thought, but I did have a question for you. Yeah. Higher education is. I know you have a full time career in racing, but even racing drivers say, if I couldn't full time race, I would want to be an engineer. Are you one of those?
Maybe. I'm kind of inclined into flying, which is pilot. So my mom,
Flight school.
yeah, my mom, my dad, they told me once that they would want me to be a pilot, and I didn't think about it much back then. But now when I'm growing older, I think that studies are also equally as important as racing.
Yeah.
So I took deep thought. I thought a lot about it. I was like, okay, not bad. It's kind of the same thing, just up in the air. So, um, I don't mind it. That's probably my plan for studies, higher studies.
But you are pursuing higher studies.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where like the difference between international and Indian drivers come in. I have to have a backup. I am going to study.
My parents are not going to let me race if I do not study.
Are your parents also into like?
My parents were both engineers. My mom was in software engineering. My dad was in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So they were, they were like, pilot is a good midpoint. We're not going to force you to become an engineer or anything. So just pilot is a
But
midpoint.
it's natural. It must ideally come natural to you in a way.
Yeah. I don't know, like, just from a very young age. Like, I think I took my first flight when I was like 2, I guess. So from then, just watching flights and all, sometimes when you're older and you sit in a flight, you think about it deeply. You're like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is fun. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. So maybe, in the past few years, it's just kind of come to me that, okay, I want to be a pilot.
So where would you like ideally go study though? I don't know much about flight school. Like engineering, yes.
I'm not completely sure, but definitely abroad. It also depends, on my racing career, where I am at that moment. Maybe to postpone or prepone my studies plans. So, but definitely abroad, not in India, for racing and for pilot studies.
But just coming back to racing, would you want to continue racing abroad? Like, is that the goal?
That is the goal. That is definitely the goal. I would not give up on racing until a situation would arise where I would, ultimately have to give up on it. I'm gonna try to, do all I can. And my parents, my family, they're also, trying their best to keep me going in racing because they know this is something I really want to pursue.
Right.
And I'm very lucky to have all that. So until I have a situation where it is, kind of impossible to continue racing, I'm gonna keep racing till then. For me, that's how it is.
That's very interesting. I think that commitment, that level of commitment that you need to have as a racing driver, because it's such an expensive sport.
Yeah.
And you never know when the roadblock is going to come. And I think, again, just referring back to that report, apparently women have a career span of, I think, something like 5 years.
Yeah, compared to men.
And they have 12 years.
It's drastic.
It's insane. But now that Hyderabad Blackbirds have come in, what is your kind of, if you don't mind, of course, what is your deal with them? They support you through whatever category you are good to go? Is that how it works?
That is the plan right now. After I finish off karting, they have their plans to put me into certain championships.
Okay.
And they do have a long-term plan. So, they have everything based on how, testing to the championship. They have a complete plan. So we'll have to see how it goes. I don't think I can say much on that.
Yeah.
But they do have a plan, from the junior categories to senior categories.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. But is there any series that you would want to particularly race in? Like, I need to do this.
Like in the long term or in
the next, say, couple of years.
2 years. 2 years. I'm not sure, honestly. I would obviously want to try to get into Formula 4 as soon as possible because I think it's a good age to start off. But besides that, that's the starting point. I would probably say Formula 4 is where I would want to be in the next 2 years.
Indian Championship, because that's coming.
We don't know.
That would be interesting. But I think ultimate goal would be what for you, like Formula One?
Ultimate, yeah, obviously. I mean, it kind of sounds impossible, and you know, we have to be a bit realistic at times as well. So obviously, the goal is Formula One, but just to see how far we can get, we'll keep going till where we can.
I think that's a fair take. But I seriously hope we get to see you in Formula One. This would be so cool. Even if I know a lot of I think Arjun came close. He was a reserve driver for Haas.
Yeah, he was.
Jihan reserve for not reserve, but he was
He
in the
tested
Red
for
Bull
McLaren as well,
and tested for McLaren.
and now we have Kush,
now
Arjun's
Kush.
brother.
Yes.
So,
So we've come to that point.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to like push it a little bit further.
and then we'll have a great role model, so that a lot of Indian companies, a lot of people will be interested. They'll be like, okay, we do
That's
have a
super
player
important.
from India. Yeah.
Very, very important. But I don't know if you're following the Iron Dames project.
I am.
You are. My God, those girls.
They're completely inspirational. I actually met Rahul.
You did?
I met her in France at the Girls on Track program.
She's like the head
Yeah, she was part of the jury.
jury.
She was just an amazing woman. You know, even after a session or two when I wasn't doing my best, I wasn't feeling my best, she came to me, she's like, it's fine, it happens, this is racing. And themselves as a team, they've gone through so much. You know, they've been at the highest and then had to go all the way to the lowest, but they've picked themselves up every single time. And it's very bold of them to do that. It's very brave. And to go, you know, in Le Mans, in all the endurance series, and be like quite literally the only all-female team, it's just incredible. I don't know what to say.
I watched all 24 hours of Le Mans this year, and I was so dead by the end of it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I stayed up. You really feel the losses when they don't do well.
You really do.
It's a fantastic project. But do you think projects like these help, like Girls on Track and Iron Dames and F1 Academy also, actually?
They definitely do, because I think even with W Series that used to go on for a few years, I've seen it revived a lot of careers of women, and a lot of them have, you know, expressed how grateful they are for the existence of the series. So it's definitely given a lot of good opportunity, a lot of track time to women, especially F1 Academy as well. You know, they're giving a lot of track time, but it is a good opportunity. You know, I think, but at the end of the day, somewhere down the road, we do have to merge back into that field with the guys, which, you know, it's a good. I would say these series are really good for teaching you the basics, kind of giving you what is necessary so that you are prepared for what is next, which maybe wouldn't be that easy for you, but it is preparing you completely. So I would probably say that's a good thing, good side of these.
Do you think that track time is like paramount for...
Track time is really important. I think regardless of the gender, it's a guy or a girl, you need track time, because when you get into higher series, when you get into single seaters, it's you can't, you know, it's all like karting. You can't just do a few days of testing and expect to be at your best, because they're different cars. It's something new you're adapting to. There's so much that goes into it further on, and up to like F1, there's so many more factors. So yeah, I would say track time is definitely really important.
How quickly do you think you can like adapt to a different cars? For instance, now you tested out the you drove the X30 cars for Girls on Track, and you said different brakes, different engine. So you naturally take some time to adapt. So does that is there like a ideal number of days that you should take to adapt to something, or number of laps?
For karting?
You can say karting, or maybe
for karting, I think it would differ from person to person as well. You know, their capacity to adjust to something that is new. But I think general would be about 3 to 4 days, 3 to 4 days around to adapt to something that is different, a different chassis, a different engine. So I would say a rough estimate is that, but maybe when you go into single seaters would be much
naturally.
more. Yeah. So
it's so interesting. It's fascinating for me to just get something from like a driver's perspective. Because there's so much you can take away from the way drivers work, and you know, just you constantly have to deal with change, right? Even if it's on track, you're dealing with change at the moment. So even in business, now that we're running something like this, it's constantly, you have to keep being on your toes. And I love chatting with racing drivers because of this one thing. You just get to learn so much. But just like parting thoughts, now that we've been talking for like an hour, I want to know if you have any advice to give to maybe like a 9-year-old Shreya who's starting out racing, and maybe a 30-year-old.
My advice to maybe 9-year-old Shriya would be to not take losses so as very deeply, because sometimes negative energy can like destroy you completely, and it is not that easy to get yourself to think that everything will go your way when it's not going your way. So maybe when you get into a sport, not just motorsports, when you get into a sport, when you get into something you love and it doesn't go your way, you just get so heartbroken. It completely, it can affect your whole week, your whole month, and everything you do. So I would probably tell myself to not take it that deeply, maybe take it as a great learning, and maybe get out of that a bit quicker than I have in the past few years, because everything would just make me so sad that I would think that everything is done. But so maybe to be a bit stronger mentally, is what I would tell myself back when I was younger.
That's a good answer. And how about like for the future you?
For the future, I would say physically, definitely, because it is not easy. I think most of the reports we've seen has kind of stated that one of the main differences between women and men in motorsports is the biological factor, how women are built, how women are made as compared to how men are made. So I would probably say that definitely, and to just keep giving it your all every single time. Never, that again connects with being stronger mentally, to never give up even if you have a bad day. You just keep going, because it does get better.
Oh my god. Okay. I felt like I had a life lesson coming my way this but it's nice. First of all, thank you so much. I know we were supposed to catch up like 2 weeks ago.
I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. And we saw that horrendous race, so we're just like, okay, this is probably not the right time to do this. But it was so glad to, and we're so happy that you could actually come down and like.
I'm so happy to come here as well.
And hopefully the journey that you're going to take from here to Whitefield is not too bad, and you treat yourself to some nice something at Phoenix. Thank you for listening to Off Track. We hope to bring you inspiring and invaluable stories like these from people of motorsport. To keep up with what we're doing, follow us on Instagram at The Hairpin Co. or log into www.thehairpin.co.